Yo, 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 flying solo tonight. The run-up, getting ready for Atlanta and Miami tomorrow night at the Benz. It's felt like there's been 5 weeks between games when it's really just been a week, but they've been coming so fast that it feels like it's been forever. It feels like I missed one or something. No, they just actually had a week off. It's crazy. I want to take your questions throughout the show tonight. I want this to be almost AMA kind of style. Of what are you thinking about Atlanta United at the moment? What do you want to see different? What do you think they have to do to beat Miami? What scares you? What excites you? What are you thinking about this match? So you can do that a couple of different ways. If you're listening on the app, if you're listening on the website, you can go to Twitter and tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. You can tweet at me at Longshoe directly if you want to. You can also join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down Here. Sometimes the Twitch pitch gets into its own conversations, which is great. You can throw your questions in there. I'll be trying to hit both sides of things to catch up on everybody's thoughts about this. I don't know what to think at this point. I feel like we've talked about it, and I'm really excited after hearing Stephen Glass yesterday. I'm excited after hearing the players speak yesterday. I feel like a little bit of that attitude is back. They were dead tired. I think it showed. I expect a different kind of performance. I don't know if they're going to win tomorrow night. They've got a lot of things to do to get to that point. But I expect a different kind of performance, a different level of performance, a different level of fight. And it's not to say they haven't been fighting, but maybe they haven't been fighting for 90 minutes. Because of a lack of focus, because of also mistakes, because of conceding goals, and because of running out of gas. So I think this is going to be one where you will see a 90-minute fight. We'll start with the questions on the Twitch pitch. Continue to throw them in on Twitter as well. Welcome, Joe Boss. Thanks for shouting us out on the Twitters and sharing the word. D. Graham says, I think Lennon needs a night off. In general, I would say no, because I think he's very important. But after the 45 minutes he had in Nashville, which was poor. I mean, it's just poor, and he would tell you the same. That's why he got pulled at 45. He was very tired, and I think he was mentally fatigued. And the mistakes he made were more mental than physical. Normally, he would not play the next match. I think he's one of the best players in this team. And I think he's a player who's had a great season so far. I think you have to see how training went this week. If he is in, I'm going to assume that it's because he had a hell of a week on the training pitch, and he earned that time. If he's not, I think it's because the door was opened. And who could that be? Normally it would be Jurgen Damm. It's not going to be him with the hamstring injury. I see D. Graham says Tyler Wolff is a possibility. I wouldn't rule it out. Wolff was fine, I thought, in his debut. I think Wolff's a smart player. He doesn't play like a kid. His movement is smart. He reads the game well. I like how he tries to combine with others. I think Tyler Wolff's a legit talent. If he beat Lennon out this week, the door was opened with that 45-minute performance in Nashville. If Lennon's in, I think it's because he earned it back on the training pitch. And this is where we haven't been all year. And this is a very important part of this, in my opinion. You've got, when this team is fully healthy, and it's not going to be this year because you're not going to get Joseph back. When this team is fully healthy, you have competition for spots pretty much in every position outside of forward. Joseph's going to play, period. You have competition everywhere, and you have people who give you different things. You need that, and you need to play the hot hand. You need to play the players that are performing the best. And you need to play based off what the opponent's going to give you. You're going to be closer to that now. Now, you don't have Jurgen Damm, but Tyler Wolff has shown he's in the mix. John Gallagher has shown he's in the mix. Jake Mulroney has shown he's in the mix. So you've got options. And if you feel like Lennon didn't respond well or needs more time off, you rest him. You've also got 3 games coming up. And that's the other side of this. And I think when people look at the lineups and they say, well, this doesn't make any sense, you're trying to build chemistry, you're playing a lot of games in a short period of time. You finally get a week off, but you are looking ahead. You don't want to blow everybody out and you're going to need to play on Wednesday, and you're going to need to play next weekend. So you've got to think a little bit and plan and manage that. And you've got competition. So Lennon can earn the spot back, in my opinion, with some time off, and I think it'll do him really good. But I don't think he's going to start all 3 games in this next 3. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Shooter, that is accurate. Gonzalo Higuain will not be playing in this. Tom Bogert of MLSsoccer.com tweeted that out just a little bit ago. He does not have his work visa yet. Now, there's some conversation going that he is here on a tourist visa and he's going to have to go back to Europe to get his permanent visa and then come back. I don't know where that stands. I don't think Blaise Matuidi did that, and I don't know what the difference was. So when it comes to visas and what the current situation is with visas and how things are being worked out, there's a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of questions. I don't know if there's anything to do with the fact that he'd have to leave and then come back and then go through 10 days of quarantine again and then be able to play. I don't know if that's accurate. I just know he can't play right now because he doesn't have his visa. That's what MLSsoccer.com representatives are saying, so I'm gonna trust them on that. Joe says, looking for a fresh start after some rest and some actual time to practice. I'm looking for literally a fresh start in this, a fresh start to the match. Not falling behind early, not making big mistakes early, not making this more difficult for yourself. It's difficult enough without Josef Martinez. You don't need to make the road more difficult right now by conceding early. You need to make it simple. You need to defend. You need to defend intelligently. You need to defend set pieces far, far better. And you need to not be chasing games. If you can do those things, you'll be competitive because you have talent in this team. But if you're falling behind and you're expecting a bunch of goals to come back, well, there's not a bunch of goals in this team right now. Flat out. I think you can find more goals than you are right now because you're not finding a lot. You can find more. There's not going to be a lot. It's not the 5-goal days right now because you're missing the guy who contributed to a lot of those 5-goal days. Josef Martinez up top. Got to figure that out. Badgermon with a point that I'll be looking for. Are the players going to go on a Figal hunt tomorrow? Nicolas Figal not punished for his missed elbow / forearm / intentional forearm / should have been a red card / the disciplinary committee's not doing their jobs. All of those things all wrapped into one. He was not suspended. He was not punished, and he played last weekend, and he tried to have a wrestling match with Nani in the middle of a soccer match. Usually doesn't go over very well. Gave up a set piece. I'm still blown away by the fact that he was not suspended. Absolutely blown away by it. The disciplinary committee then later suspended some other people because I guess they woke up from their hibernation. It's a complete embarrassment, and there's no way around that. There's zero way around that. Pro still has not released the inside the Pro studios of what happened in that match. They haven't released anything from that week yet. I don't know if they're holding that off for right now or what, but, it's very frustrating. I don't know when it's going to change. It has to be better. They have to suspend people who are throwing striking motions, whether it's an elbow or a forearm. Hurts just the same. Can do damage just the same. It's got to be better. Disciplinary committee's got to be better. So do Atlanta players go on a hunt to try to get their revenge? I hope not, because then it's going to take them away from the focus of the match. Do I worry that it could happen? Yeah, I do. I really do. I hope not, because I feel like referees will be looking for that, and it's always the person who is second who gets the punishment. Atlanta needs to be smart about it. Figal's reckless. Let him be reckless. Take advantage of it. That's where Atlanta should be when it comes to Nicolas Figal. Okay. Shiva says, I want to know how we handle the fouls. There will be many. There absolutely will. You look at Miami, and I'm going to share a couple of numbers real quick. Fouls committed per 90 minutes, it's very high. I mean, Blaise Matuidi, who is a very talented player, has fit right into what Miami wants. He's fouling per 90, and he's not playing every 90 yet, but per 90, he's fouling 4 times, over 4 times a match. Carranza is close to 4, 3.86. Chapman's 3. Robinson's 2.7. Pellegrini and Shea are 2.69. It's a lot of people with a lot of fouls per 90 minutes. One thing that's interesting is a lot of them are attacking players, and Carranza and Chapman and Robbie Robinson. They're going to foul Atlanta's defenders. They're going to put a lot of pressure on there. They're going to foul. If you make a pass to play quickly and get away from them, they're still going to hit you. Atlanta's defenders have to be very careful about that because these guys are not going to back off. They're going to foul in the middle third and going into the middle third because that's something else that a lot of teams have started to do. Eric Remedi's being fouled on average 3.6 times per 90 minutes played. That's a wild number for a holding midfielder. Barco's being fouled over 5 times per 90, which, I mean, you're getting into Diego Maradona, Neymar, Messi kind of numbers there. 5 times per 90 is a very, very high number. How Atlanta deals with it, they earn those fouls in more dangerous places. You move the ball quicker because you know Miami's going to play physical. How high Miami presses is a question that I don't really have an answer to yet. I think they're going to drop deeper when Higuain's in the team. Will they do that tomorrow? We'll have to see. But you need to get those fouls in more dangerous places, and you need to take advantage. You need to do what you did in Nashville. Because if you start doing that, if you start picking up these fouls around the final third, if you start punishing teams for giving you those free kicks, they're going to have to stop, period. You can't have these fouls constantly drawn in your own half because they do nothing for you. They just break up the play. So you got to get the ball forward quicker. If teams are going to play this way right now and they're going to get away with it, you've got to get the ball into the attacking half quicker to draw those fouls in more dangerous places. Joe has a good point, and this is the flip side of it, and it's something Atlanta needs to do more of. Joe asks, have we relearned the tactical foul? You need to, because at times this team doesn't commit the foul that it needs to commit when the opposition is transitioning. You know, you look at Atlanta's fouls committed per 90. I went through it with Miami. Their top 6 guys are all ahead of Atlanta's whole team in terms of fouls per 90 minutes. Cubo Torres leads per 90 with 2.42. Adam John with 2.16. Again, it's the forwards. Escobar's next with 1.92. Meza with 1.84. Josetu with 1.84. They don't foul a lot. You need to foul a little bit more for 2 reasons. You need to break up those transitions when that happens. You also need to be more physical. And Atlanta has not been very physical this year. They're not being very aggressive. You just look at general defensive action numbers across the board this season, and for Atlanta, they're very low. Pressures, successful pressures, tackles, those kinds of things are all pretty low. They're not pressing very much in any part of the field. It's not about pressing up high. It's just being aggressive. When you have low foul counts like that, you're not aggressive. They need to be more aggressive. They need to be a little nastier. They need to listen to Jose Mourinho from All or Nothing and sometimes be a bastard. That's what he said. They need to do that at times. They need to be tough to play against. They're going to be tough to play against because of their skill. They need to be tough to play against at times because they're physical. They can be more physical. They have to know how to be more physical. Franco Escobar, plenty fine being physical. Maybe he needs to dial it down a little bit. Rest of the team, especially that midfield. Remedi, Josetu, Hindman. If Barco's in there, he needs to pick this up as well. Commit the fouls when you need to commit them. Get a tackle stuck in. Make some contact. If teams are going to do that to you and it's going to take you out of your game, you got to fight fire with fire at times. And if that makes the game messy and ugly sometimes, so be it. You've got to be able to do that when the time calls for it. And tomorrow's probably going to be a game that's going to call for it. There's no way around it. Shiva, what's our biggest problem on set pieces? Is it just simply man marking? No, not really. To me, it's focus, because I notice it on really any restart. It's like there's a switch off. Even on throw-ins, at times Atlanta's slow to react to throws, and it's not good enough. It's got to be locked in. You can't let your focus drop at all. Now, you're going to have problems focusing, and your focus is going to drop when you're tired. And you had that excuse, and it was accurate. You don't have it now. You've got to be locked in every time the play is going to restart. Because if you go back and you look at the 2 mistakes Lennon made in the last match, The one on Atlanta's own throw, the first one in the first minute on a corner. Both, he was just beaten to a dead ball by Dax McCarty, who reacted quicker. Can't have that. Can't have that happen. Got to be locked in. Now, they do like to go with zonal marking on set pieces, especially on corners. I'm not the biggest fan of it. The one thing you're missing, I think zonal marking can work when you have a player like Joseph at the corner of the 6 who's going to win anything to the near post. He was such a good defensive weapon on set pieces, and it's something that we've completely lacked this year with him being out because there hasn't been anybody who's replaced him. When you go zonal, if you have that free man there who's going to clean up anything at the near post, that makes it easier to go zonal because you're worrying about everything that gets over his head. Right now, you got to worry about everything, and you're getting beat to the near post. And that Dax McCarty one was a flick on at the near post. That would have never happened with Joseph Martinez on the field. It can't happen now. For me, it's focus, and for me, it's figuring out how to replicate Joseph there. You know, who can be that player? I don't know, because you're not going to take Robinson off of, you know, the most difficult challenger. You're not going to take Escobar out of that because they're both excellent in the air and dealing with these. You know, it's got to be one of the more forward players who can be good in the air. Honestly, I would put Brooks Lennon there when he's on the field. Lennon is really strong in the air, as we've seen. I would play Brooks Lennon in that spot. I think he gives you, generally, not in this one, but generally he gives you that aggressiveness. And what needs to happen, though, is in that case, like what happened against Nashville, it can't be where he's marking somebody because then he's not free. If somebody else comes in that zone, somebody's got to come help him. Maybe the second man is Heineman, or Heineman is the free man, because Heineman's pretty good in the air as well, deceptively so. You got to have somebody free in that zone to take the near post away. That at least diminishes the chances for the opposition. If you're going to go zonal, it makes you not have to cover as large of an area zonally, and it's something they have to figure out. And hopefully they have. I would assume they've really worked on these things this week. Joe asks about Kubo getting his first goal. I feel like he's close. I really feel like he's close, but you know what? Adam John was excellent against Nashville. Again, John had a good week last week with his goal in Orlando, his performance against Nashville. I would have no problem if Adam John starts. I like what he's given this team when he's on the field. That's going to be a good competition up top. Kubo's been close, but he hasn't found the back of the net. John has, and John's got an assist. It's hard to take Adam John off the field in my mind. I think he needs to get the start tomorrow. I think he's earned it. Now, again, you got a week of training, so that can change everything. But just based off past performance, I think Adam John's the guy. Joe says, who takes a penalty given that Robles will be in Barco's head? It'd be really tough for Ezequiel Barco to take a penalty if it came up. See, now you got me needing to go do some research, Joe, and I like this because you guys get to hang out as we do a little bit of research for my notes because this will come up, and it's a good question. Could Barco take it? He absolutely could. Would you maybe want to go in a different direction? Yeah, I probably would. So let's see if we can find this quickly in terms of penalty history with this group. It's going to give me that. That's not what I want. So we're not going to find this quickly. Let's see. Out of the lineup that we expect, who could take it? Kubo could take it. I have no problem with that. He took a bunch of penalties for Houston. Actually, let's look at Kubo Torres real quick and see if we can pull his penalty history. Because if I remember correctly, he had a number of penalties against or for Houston in that 2017 year. Penalty goals, Kubo Torres. 16-17, he scored, or in the 2017 year, he was 3 out of 5 on penalties. He had one since that he made. Or actually, no, sorry. He's made 13 out of 14. I'm reading it wrong. 13 out of 14 Kubo Torres has made. He's your guy. Done. Solved. Problem answered. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. D. Graham says, Oh, the referee from USL, Demyanchuk. He was really good on Wednesday, and he was a couple of times in the past really bad. Sergey at times has had a problem, I think, communicating with players and coaches on the field. There's been a lot of issues with that both ways. I think he's taken things personally. People haven't liked how he's talked to them. I've noticed it from the booth at times. I thought he was excellent in managing the game. I thought he handled all the flashpoints. I thought he was very good. He doesn't have any next-level center experience. I don't think he's going to get it this year. But games like that one, as a referee, that's going to help move him up the ladder, and he could get an opportunity next year. In a normal year, the way they kind of do it is your main guys work early and work late. And in the middle of the season where you might give them, an extra fourth official assignment, you might give them a week off or 2 weeks off, they take vacation, they go out with the family. That's where you start to see some of the new up-and-coming guys get a game here, a game there. And it's almost like a trial. Maybe he moves into that next year. I think he still probably needs a few more strong performances because that's the best one I've seen from him. But it puts him into the mix because you need young referees to come up. The problem would be that I would worry about is at the MLS level, the attitude issue that I've seen at USL from him could really be a problem at the MLS level and would not go over well. So if that's dialed down, yeah, if he works like he did on Wednesday, yep, I'm okay with that. Okay. No, Joe, I've done my prep, but that is one I don't normally do. When I do the penalty prep, it's postseason. I save all my notes because I do them all on Google Docs. And when I go through, when we get to penalties, or we get to postseason where you could go to penalties, I've got the penalty history for everybody lined up. Usually, it's not even a thought here because, Joseph's going to take it. And I knew Barco would take it if Joseph did, or Pitti. So kind of had it all lined up. Now, you bring up an interesting point. So you gave us a good thing to study, and we have studied it. In MLS, he has missed one penalty, and that was in 17. Lifetime, at least according to Transfermarkt. Sometimes they miss a couple. He's 13 out of 14. Gustavo. Welcome, Gustavo. I'm annoyed with Figal. Accurate. He's a natural center back who has to play as a fullback. Accurate. Toto Rojo had some issues with his yellow card, red card suspensions. Not surprised. He was a great player for Toto Rojo for Independiente in Argentina. But to be honest, he tends to make fouls easily. Accurate. In either case, it's a ref's fault. Also accurate. Barco was annoyed too, especially because he was a former teammate. Yeah, I noticed it was a little bit different. First time they played in the scoreless draw at the Benz, after the game, those two spent a long time talking after the match on the field. Everything was great. Next time, not so much. Not so much. Not so nice conversation after the game. I don't think it'll be the case here. That's part of it. Figal plays a role, and from what Diego Alonso's saying right now, he's found his back line. He likes Figal as a right back. And I think what it does for Miami is it allows them to get down the left side consistently with Ben Sweat overlapping. It allows them to play a Juan Agudelo or a Brek Shea, who will come inside at times, or a Matias Pellegrini, who will come inside a good bit. It allows them to play a left winger who'll come inside because Sweat will stretch the field on the left. Figal's not going to go as much. He can go and he can keep you honest as a right back, but Lewis Morgan is going to stretch the field wide on the right. So Figal gives you the balance because when your left back is going and your right back is staying more, you slide and you turn into a line of three. And that's what Alonso wants. He wants to be very organized with his defending. So Figal fits to give him that balance when he plays there. Okay, couple more questions as they are coming up. Joey Logan wants to know tell me what is talked about that isn't during 10-plus hours of SDH and 92.9 on Wednesdays. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is some reiteration at times. It happens. I want to know what I haven't covered. Let me know, Joey, if you're listening. Let me know what we haven't talked about, and we'll get into it. That's what we're here for. That's what we try to do. I hope you guys enjoy all the content. I hope it's not completely repetitive. I hope we, maybe do stress some points, but not just keep repeating ourselves. I definitely do, try to make things different every time I'm on the radio with one of the hosts. Every time we do stoppage time versus SDH, I'm trying to bring different things to the table and maybe sometimes say things in different ways and explain things different ways. But I'm trying to make each thing fresh. And, yeah, it can be tough sometimes. It can. But right now, man, we just need a win. That would make it a lot easier at the moment. Joe says, we can definitely get into ideal starting 11 with all things considered. Yeah, we can do that. For me, all things considered, right now, let's take the two that we know out of the equation. Joseph Martinez out, Jürgen Damm out. Hamstring probably out for the next week would be my assumption. You're not going to rush it. You're going to be careful with him because he was never at full fitness. So you're going to be smart with it. So, okay, you take him out of the equation. You take Joseph out of the equation. I would go left back, George Bello. And this is just me, and this is not seeing what's worked on in training. I really like this idea of Meza as a number 6, so I would keep Walks and Robinson at center back, Escobar at right back, Meza as the 6. If you're not comfortable with him there, he replaces Walks. Larentowicz comes in as the 6. But I'd like to see Meza in that role. Because just like Figal sliding in to give Miami 3 in the back, and somebody can go, Meza dropping can give Atlanta 3 in the back when they need to have that because he's comfortable playing as a center back. That's an interesting element to help shore things up a little bit. So would have no problem with seeing that. And I think that's why Larentowicz works in that role as well. Okay, the other two midfielders. All things considered, I would like to see Rossetto and Remedi. I think those two complement each other well. That leaves Heinemann out right now. Heinemann has been okay. The numbers are okay. They're not great, but they're okay. You get into some of the different categories, some of the things that I track. His passing is good. He's got the best passing percentage in the team. Okay. Long passing is good. He's not just hitting short balls all the time. He's completing longer passes over 25 yards. Key passes, he's averaging 1 per 90 minutes played. That's third in the team, which is far too low at the moment. He leads the team in passes into the final third. Okay, he leads the team in progressive passes, so that's passes that are going forward 10 yards or more. Okay. He's doing these things, but when you hear these numbers, does it feel like he's impacting games at the moment? It doesn't. I think Rossetto is better defensively, and I think Rossetto is better on the ball in tight spaces. I think Heinemann's probably a little bit better passer. But right now, you need to be a little more sure of yourself defensively, and you need players who can win the 1v1 battles. And I think Rossetto can win that a little bit more than Heinemann can at the moment. And Remedi, you want him to be the 8 in this scenario and be free and go hunt the ball and flip the field. So, okay, then we get to the wide play. If Lennon had a good week of training, he's back on the right side for me. Barco's on the left, and Torres is up top unless – well, actually, no, I would go John right now, sorry, unless Torres has a great week of training. I like Barco on the left for a couple of reasons. He can still come inside and play as a 10 all day. No problem with that. He's completely free to do it. When he does that, it opens up space for Bello to go. And that's fine. When you have a left winger who stays wide, they can get in their way a little bit, and it can be a little redundant. Just like we talked about with the left winger for Miami coming inside and freeing up space for Ben Sweat, Barco will do that from the left side for Atlanta when he's out wide. He comes in. I like that setup. If you want to go in the different direction and not have to choose 2 of the 3 between Heinemann, Remedi, Rossetto, and you just want to pick one and play Barco there, Then you're looking at Gallagher on the left. You're looking at Mulraney on the left. You're looking potentially at Tyler Wolff on the left. I like it with Barco better, and I like it with Hosetu and Remedi in the middle a little bit better. I do think Barco can be a number 10. I think Barco can play as a 10. I think with the way this team is currently built, out left might work a little bit better. But that's going to also put stronger demands. You're going to have to make the decision. What do you get more out of going forward? Hosetu centrally and Barco on the left coming inside, along with Bello, along with Escobar coming up from the back, and your right side with Lennon. Or do you feel like Barco centrally and Gallagher or Mulraney or Wolff give you more out on the left? I don't think they do. I think they give you something different, but I don't know if they give you more. And that's the puzzle right now, because you need more going forward. Whichever way you think you're going to get more production out of the team is the way you have to go at the moment in the attack. Because you're not, when you look at the numbers, I mean, key passes per 90, that's chances created. Atlanta's numbers are very low. Dom leads it, so you take him out of the group because of the injury, and your leader in passes per 90, chances created per 90, is Barco with 1.27. It's nothing. It's not good enough. It's got to be better. So whichever way you can create more chances, and I think it's Hosetu centrally and Barco on the left, that's the way you got to go here. And if you have Meza or Larentowicz as your 6, you can then push Bello and push Escobar up more to get involved in that, because you'll be a little more secure defensively, in my opinion. Okay. Shiva with a question. Just don't like that we have to play the same team almost every week. It's starting to get annoying, but I know we have no choice. It is what it is, and it stinks, and it creates controversy because these players have seen each other over and over again. It creates friction because of that. You do have the worry about another flare-up with Figal this time around. It's not ideal at all, but it is 2020, and it is this year that we're all dealing with. You're trying to keep costs reasonable. You're trying not to send, Miami out on all these road trips. They're the ones that will have the longest trips in this area because they're down in the corner. They can't play Orlando every week. They've got to play Atlanta more often than others. And that's just where we're stuck. That's where it is right now. It won't be like this another year. It is what it is. It stinks, but you just have to deal. Winter Wind, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Missed the lead up, so don't know if it was asked. Any thoughts on the impact of Higuain just being there on the rest of the team tomorrow? I think in terms of just being there, not really, but in terms of the impact on the attack, yes. Because whoever starts up top, if it's Julian Carranza, if it's Juan Agudelo, if it's Robbie Robinson, they know the pressure's on. They also know that left wing spot is kind of open, and Agudelo can play there, and he has. Robinson could maybe play there. I think Carranza could probably play there as well, as mobile as he is, and he'd give you a different element. All of them are going to be competing for playing time, and they know that they're about to lose minutes at number 9. I mean, Higuain I don't think is going to come in and play 90 minutes every game, but he's going to come in and get the bulk of the starts. So whoever is starting up top tomorrow has a lot of pressure on them. That's the effect that I'll be looking for, is do you see Carranza even more aggressive than usual, chasing everything down and trying to give you something different than you'll get from Higuain. Robinson is a little reckless at times with his pressures and his challenges. Will he be even more so? Agudelo is a different kind of player than those two. I don't think he'll get the start up top tomorrow, but if he does, he gives them a completely different look. And he's somebody who you could potentially play with Higuain, who can drop off as a second forward. So that's the part of the field that will have the impact, because it just increases the pressure on them to keep earning minutes. D. Graham says, Dallas and Chicago are going to be ugly if we play the way we have. Dallas could be. Chicago hasn't exactly been playing great. Both of them are beatable. Any game can be ugly with the way Atlanta's been playing right now. If you're falling behind to anybody and you're not creating a ton of chances, you're stuck, If you're not creating chances, if your key passes per 90 minutes, your chances created, your leaders at the moment. Take Dom out of it because of the injury. It's Barco at 1.27. It's Heinemann at 1 per 90 minutes. It's Hosetu at 0.82. And it's Adam John at 0.78. That's it. That's 4 players. And that's, 4 Yeah, about 4. Less than 4 chances per 90 minutes. You need more than 4 chances per 90 minutes if you're going to score goals. And if you fall behind, well, you better be really good with those chances. And they just haven't been. They just haven't been. Joe's backing me on the Meza as the 6 idea. Larentowicz can be there too, and it can be fine. But I'm talking myself into Meza as a 6 because he played it in the postseason in the Liguilla last year in Mexico. I think he could absolutely fit there if needed. Joe says thoughts on Barco as a second floating striker, false 9. I don't like him as the false 9 so much. It'd be such a different way of playing. I think it's hard to do right now. He's played a second striker in a 3-5-2, but I don't think they're going 3-5-2. They've been very consistent in playing a version of the 4-3-3 every match since Stephen Glass took over. I don't think they deviate from that. I think they have to keep it simple at the moment, mainly because you're going to go into another week where you have limited training. So it's like you've trained for a week, but you have to have tactics that stay fairly static over these 3 games. So you can't dial up too many strange, weird things. I would keep it simple with John or Torres up top and rotate between the 2 over these next 270 minutes. And I'd play Barco out left where he can be free because you know that Bello's going to come upfield. You want Bello to do that. You want that space to be there for him. Barco playing out left and coming inside gives you that ability. So I think that's the best. You can play him as a 10, and that can work, but you got to get something out of the left side if you do it, and that hasn't been happening consistently. So if it's better to get Rossetto or Heinemann, whichever one you feel, I'd lean Rossetto at the moment. You get them in as the central midfielder, and you tell them to get forward, and you put pressure on them to attack, and you have Barco free coming off the left side who can come in. I think that can work. But it's got to. That's the thing, is we think it can work, but it's got to show that it can. Because, I mean, all the options right now are a little bit of a guessing game because we just haven't seen it work consistently. Winter Wind is about like me at this on the left side. It likes Gallagher and Mulroney on the left more as a sub with that energy. I think they've been more effective that way. We haven't seen Mulroney start in a while, and he would be the one that I think should get a start over these next 3 games. Give you 60 minutes in that starting role. We just haven't seen it. He's been aggressive when he's been on. He runs at players. Again, running at tired legs is good. But I think he might be able to give you a little something on the left side. If you do want to go Barco as the 10 tomorrow, give Mulroney a go on the left. Give that speed a go. Against Figal, I kind of like that idea because he'll get Figal into some trouble with fouling for sure. Gustavo. Barco's an inverted 10, so he would tend to end at center, leaving space for others in the left. That's what Tata liked from him, because Tata was the same kind of player at Newell's. It's also what Independiente did with Barco. And for young, creative, playmaking kind of players, you'll see them put in wing positions a lot in this because it's a little less pressure. When you're the number 10, and as we've seen, Barco gets a bullseye on his back, and he gets hit a lot. And when he's constantly getting hit and having to get up and getting frustrated, it takes him out of his game. It can free him up a bit when he's out wide on the left, in the same way that Gustavo's saying, to come inside, open up space for the left-sided player in George Bello, which you like. And he can go to the right. He can go to the middle. He can drop deeper. He can stay on the left. He can combine with Bello. He can be completely and utterly free, just like he would as a second striker, just like he would pretty much as a number 10. Although the number 10 will have some responsibilities at times with breaking up the outlet passing from the opposition. Now, Miami's not really going to do that very much. They want to get it out of their back line as fast as possible. They're going to try to find Blaise Matuidi as quickly as possible. He's leading the team in touches per 90, and he's just gotten there. He's the guy they're going to look for in the build-up phase. And then they're going to look for Pizarro further up the field. They don't really build up play. So you don't have to have that number 10 having the same kind of role. Because a lot of times, and Tata's teams did this, and Frank's teams would do this too at times, your 10 or your striker has to take away the pass to the number 6. You know, when you see a player like Will Trapp, who at Columbus dominated possession and had a ton of the ball, you wanted to prevent him from getting it because it made it difficult for the team to figure out how to play. Talked about that with Nashville. Anibal Godoy was the one who was involved in the build-up. You wanted to take that away from him. Well, it ended up not mattering because you gave up goals on set pieces, but you wanted to do that. The number 10 has that responsibility a lot of times. If Barco's coming off the left, you don't have that as much, and especially in a game like this one where the player on that side, Figal, is not really going to go forward as much. So he's completely and utterly free to roam. Maybe he gets under Figal's skin. That'd be interesting. They had a friendly moment a couple weeks ago, and maybe they come to blows in this one. We'll have to see. What's up, 4Card? 5 goals tomorrow, eh? Man, I went 2-2, and I felt like I was stretching a little bit with my prediction. I'd love to see it. It's 2020. Anything can happen, right? Would love to see it. If Atlanta's going to get 5 goals tomorrow, they would have to score on a free kick. They'd have to score on a penalty. And they'd have to score early to change the momentum and the confidence level of this team. Because right now, I've felt like they've been in their heads as much as anything. Lacking confidence, not taking chances, worried about risking things. Those have been my biggest concerns with this team. If you can get an early goal, not just to avoid having to chase a game, but to change the confidence level of the group. Could be massive. I don't know if it's 5 goals massive, but could be massive. 4Card likes the idea of Meza as a 6. Okay, cool. Gustavo, continuing on the Tata situation from his time playing at Newell's. He was a number 8, an Argentina right midfielder in the U.S. In games, he would end up as a 10. So he'd be out wide, but he'd come inside and drift in to come find the game. Barco can be that guy. And he's more of a natural playmaker. I mean, he can definitely be that guy, and you can be a playmaker from out wide. I more than anything, I want Barco in a free role to where he can go find the game. And I want him to run at players. And I want him to carry the ball on the dribble. And I want him to pull the defense apart. But people have to run off of the ball to make any of that work. And too many times I feel like it's watch Barco run at defenders and wait and see what happens rather than he's going to run at defenders and we're going to run the opposite way to give him an option, or we're going to give him a short pass option if he has to dump it off. We're just going to sit and watch. It can't happen. Can't happen. The movement has to be better off the ball. It can't just be watch Barco try to do it himself. Shiva says, when are we getting a coach? I want a coach. We need a coach. The right good coach can be the fix of all this. I don't think the coach is the issue at the moment, to be perfectly honest. The coach has had very little time in doing anything with the team. The way that the training sessions have gone. Now, it's tough that it's known that Stephen Glass is the interim coach. I mean, if you had a regular coach, then, yeah, you have a little bit different, level of accountability, a little bit different conversation, a little bit different mood and vibe. All that's true. But I don't think there's been any blame of anything that Stephen Glass has done or not done. There's very little that he can do with the way the schedule has gone. And the way the things are going wrong at games, it's individual mistakes. It's not you're getting beat tactically. It's not you're getting overrun. It's not you're getting, all these horrible things from a lineup or a formation or anything like that the coaches affect. It's focus. It's individual mistakes. It's being tired. These are things that the manager can't control. You want to get the right manager. I mean, this is something a lot of people complained about when Frank DeBoer was hired, and I disagree that he was the wrong manager. You don't have the success that Atlanta did last year with the wrong manager. Could he have been better? Well, yeah, he probably would have stuck around if that was the case. But to say that it was horribly wrong, no, I think that's a narrative. But you want to get this one right, and there is pressure on the hire. Absolutely. And you want to make sure that you are doing the right thing. I think it's very tough to get a manager at the moment, to be perfectly honest, because the European seasons are starting, so there's not going to be anybody fired right now. I mean, you're a week in, you're a couple weeks in, you're not even starting until this weekend in some leagues. There are some managers who are out of work. I don't know if there's any that are wow kind of guys at the moment. So you're looking at managers who are working currently, and that's not easy to do. Teams might not let you talk to them at the moment. They might not want to talk to you at the moment. Now, going into the fall, you will see things change. You will see managers let go that you think could be a good fit here. You will have a better sense of what things look like in the landscape of dealing with COVID-19 as well. And that's had to have been an effect on this. There's just no way it hasn't been. It's not as easy to go pop up somewhere and have a conversation with somebody. It just isn't at the moment. So I don't want them to just hire somebody just to hire somebody. That's the last thing I want. I want them to get the person that's the right fit and doesn't have to be here for 5 years, doesn't have to be here for 10 years, but needs to be here for a good 2 to 3, preferably 3, and is the right fit. And you're not hiring somebody to please the pundits or the media or the fan base. You're hiring somebody that you think is the right fit here. But, yeah, you do want somebody that's going to create some excitement. You do. There's no way around that. You want to change that storyline right now. So you got to make sure that you get it right. So take the time. I'm okay with taking the time right now. I don't want them to rush into it. Four Card says Barco as a left wing or a left mid. I'd like to know, Four Card, where you differentiate that, because some people do it differently. In the 4-3-3 that I'm talking about, I like Barco as a left winger because it's the front three, and it's not a 4-2-3-1 where they're deeper. It's not the left central midfielder sitting deep as more of a number 8. It's not the left central attacking midfielder if you're playing 1-6 and 2 in front of him. I like him out on the left wing. So I would call it a left winger, but left wing, left mid, it really depends on who you are and how you're calling it, because it's pretty interchangeable. Left mid to me is like a 4-4-2 where it's a much deeper position. But let me know what you're thinking. Four Card says a new coach is coming after Libertadores. After the group stage? That'd be at the end of October. It's possible. There could be somebody available at that point. You're going to have moves happen in South America based on the Libertadores. You're going to have moves happen in South America based off the regular seasons in some countries. You're going to have some people become available. You absolutely could. I don't know who that will be just yet. Dome Tarrant's name came up this morning on the show. Dome Tarrant, formerly of New York City, is with Flamengo. They were beaten 5-0 in Ecuador last night. He had a slow start at Flamengo. Then they got hot. Now they've lost 2 in a row, 2-0 and 5-0, and that's an embarrassing loss in Libertadores. Brazilian teams are known for pushing the button very quickly on firing managers. Will that happen here? I don't know. And is he the one you want to go bring in? I don't know. I think he's an excellent manager. Would he excite the fan base? Would he change the narrative? I don't know if he would. He maybe should, but I don't know if he would. Because I could imagine that the storyline would then be, oh, you're hiring somebody who failed. Because that was the story when Frank was hired, and that was the story when Tata was hired. It was on Tata. Don't get it twisted. Tata Martino was coming in after back-to-back final losses with Argentina in Copa America. He didn't win a trophy with Barcelona, and everybody is blown away by how he couldn't win a trophy with Barcelona, even though when you look at the numbers, they had an incredible season. They just literally didn't win a trophy. There were questions about that hire when it happened. There will be questions about this one no matter who you go with. If it is Dome Tarrant, if Miguel Herrera becomes available from Club America, well, he got fired. If it is somebody who's currently out of work, well, there's going to be a well. It'll happen. There's just no way around it. But you want to make sure it's somebody who can fit. And that could come out of South America and after Libertadores. It absolutely could. Four Card is still driving the Mauricio Pochettino train. Don't think his destiny is here. I do disagree with that, my friend. But, and let me see if I can find this really fast. I did see that Pochettino spoke to somebody here recently and was talking about some of the jobs he was being linked to, and he said that wasn't accurate. Here we go. It was from a Spanish outlet, Partidazo Cope. He said, translated, I don't know who was putting my name on so many clubs. They haven't offered me Barcelona, nor PSG, nor Juventus, nor Inter, nor Newcastle. He said the clubs who called me were Benfica and Monaco. Those are the two people that Pochettino admitted that has reached out to him. Those are two clubs that I'll have the argument with you that Atlanta is comparable. Barcelona, PSG, Juve, Inter, different conversation. Newcastle, I'll have the argument with you. Although the Premier League, the money there, and Pochettino probably wanting to win something there has a different personal pull. Benfica, Monaco, if those are the possibilities, well, maybe he has a different feeling. That's a giant maybe. I don't think he's going to do it because I think he will be the number one person if and when Barcelona has trouble, PSG thinks about moving on from Tuchel, Inter has more friction with Conte. I think Newcastle would absolutely consider it if and when they ever get bought. I think he would be the number one name in Europe, and he would be smart to wait it out and see what opens up because I think he'll get massive, crazy money. Would I love to have him? 150 million%. I love the way he sees the game. I love his passion. He would be a great fit here. But I think because he'd be such a great fit here, I think he's going to get a bigger job. And he should wait it out and see what happens. Now, if he waits it out and nothing happens and he decides he wants to work, well, hey, season would start February or so of next year. So, that could be pretty good. Just saying. Four Card says, I think there's a few coaches still playing in the Libertadores that they want to talk to. Absolutely possible. The front office is going to do everything possible. There's just no way around it. Libertadores, the group stage will end third week of October, if I remember correctly. It's kind of compressed right now. If you get out of the group stage, then you're going into the knockout rounds. That won't end until January. But you'd probably be looking at somebody who might be let go who doesn't get out of the group stage. Now, the third-place teams go into the Sudamericana, but that's a little different conversation. People might become available. Joe says, do we come out guns blazing to get that early goal? I think you need to. I think you need to come out and change the mood. It's another one of those games that if the fans were in the building, I think they would help with that a bit. This team needs to come out like they sounded yesterday. Angry. Wanting to prove a point. They need to play in that manner early tomorrow and see what they can find in the first 15 minutes. And when I say that, I'm not saying be reckless defensively because you got to be careful because you don't want to concede. But you need to be aggressive in the way you play. You need to get physical with tackles. You need to commit fouls. You need to be a little nasty. You need to change the vibe. And I think if you do, the team will feed off of it. So, yeah, I'm all about guns, all the guns blazing, Joe. D. Graham, speaking of these free kicks, if Lorenowitz plays, why not let him take a few? He's second in MLS history in free kick goals. Yeah, I'd have no problem with it. It's felt like when they've tried to dial up one for Lorenowitz, there's always been something just a little bit off. Because they like to do the pass to the side, pass back for him to hammer it with the right foot. Just let him have one. Give it a go. I mean, Barco's been really good on his delivery, and he'll get most of them. But if it's not on for him, if he's just not feeling, if he's not connecting well tomorrow on free kicks, yeah, give Jeff one. I'm completely good with that. And just give him a typical one. Don't try to do anything crazy. Win or win, not so much a question about tomorrow, player-wise. So you see anyone as likely being shopped behind the scenes in this window, and if so, who? If you're going to add Eric Lopez and Marcelino Moreno, if that deal gets done, to the roster, you got to move somebody. I don't know who that would be. I honestly don't. I think the position where you have the most to work with is that central midfield group that we've talked about with Lorenowitz, who you wouldn't be moving, with Josetu and Heinemann, which I wouldn't expect you to be moving. I don't think you're looking to move Eric Remedi, although maybe you could. Mo Adams would be a smaller piece to move, but he could be somebody who plays for another team because that's 5 guys for 3 spots if you're playing 3 of them and 2 if you're playing Barco as a 10. That's a spot where you have extra depth. So if you're looking to move anybody, and I don't know who out of that group, but that would be the position that I think you'd be looking to move somebody from because you have the most depth there. Gustavo, if Moreno is signed, it'll be good for Barco. Moreno is a traditional number 10, more brains but less goal scoring. I don't know if he doesn't know if I have an opinion. I think he's a little more of a not a true 10. I think Barco's maybe a true 10, but I'm old school with the way I like my 10. I like a 10 who's a playmaker purely. I'm of the like Riquelme 10 kind of pool, the last 10, as they say. Moreno's a modern kind of 10. He's and I hate to do this stuff, and I really try to avoid it, but for those of you who haven't seen him play, the touchstone would be a Miguel Almiron. Now, he's not as fast. He is not as good defensively. He's better on the dribble. I think he's a better pure passer. But that's that kind of a 10, which is a non-traditional 10. It's a two-way kind of 10. It's what they called Miguel, a flying 8. That's what he feels like to me. I do think he'd be great for Barco, because then Barco coming off the left with Moreno centrally, and he likes to shade to the left side. And the way he'd play for Lanús a good bit, they played what turned into a 4-1-4-1 a good bit, and he would be the left central of the attacking four behind the forward. That was where it all kind of unlocked for him. So if you have Moreno paired up centrally with a Rossetto or a Mehdi or a Heinemann, but shaded to the left, where he can combine with Barco, you've got two players who are among the best 1v1 players in this hemisphere. That's going to be dangerous for teams. It's going to make teams have to defend Barco with one, which is going to help him, and you're not going to be able to double team Moreno, and he was the best dribbler in the Argentine Primera División last year. And he has no shyness about taking people 1v1. So I do think it would work completely. I look at him a little bit more as a two-way 10. So kind of a modern 10 as opposed to a old school 10, playmaker 10. If any of that makes sense, I hope it does. D. Graham says Eddie Howe is available. He is. I think he needs time off. The emotions of what he went through with that job, because it wasn't just a job for him. That was his lifelong club. He needs time off. I don't think it'd be good to bring him in straight away. I don't think it'd be a good fit. Hello, Craigie. What's up, buddy? Hope you're doing well. Katie Weaver with a late question. Agree that middle league is about lateral to a big MLS club. I think it is. I think Atlanta's a unique job. So if those are the jobs he's getting and he doesn't feel like he'd get any other offers, yeah, Atlanta could be in the mix and should be in the mix. I think he will get other offers because it always happens. I mean, something's going to happen at Barca, PSG, Juve, Inter, Newcastle could be a one that pops up. Somebody in the Premier League getting squirrely and firing a manager early. He'll have options. I think he waits it out. That's really where I feel. Gustavo, to be honest, I don't see any Argentine coach at Atlanta, at least the well-known. The one that everybody is pining for is Gallardo at River. Does he make the move? I think he's one who will go to Europe. He's one that would go to that mid-level French club, and it would be a step up for him. Whereas for Pochettino, it really wouldn't. So why would you do it? So if those clubs, or Benfica, Portuguese, but you get my point, that level of a club, for Gallardo, if those are clubs who are looking to hire and they call him, he would take that. MLS wouldn't be the same move for him. And I don't think it is for Pochettino either, personally. I think his future's in Europe. I think it's going to stay in Europe, at least the next job for sure. Gallardo, I think, will have a better opportunity than here, and I think he'll really want to do Europe. And he played in France, so the French league would have a different pull for him. I don't think there's anybody else that I would bang down the door from out of Argentina currently. And I know we've joked about Becasese. He's still young. He's still got things to prove. I like the way he sees the game, but would he be the right guy for this job? Maybe not. I've mentioned Jorge Sampaoli. He's not going anywhere at Atletico Mineiro anytime soon, so you can rule him out. He was interviewed before for the job, or at least talked to by Atlanta United representatives. That was the reporting out of Argentina in December of 2018, before Frank was hired. So they would at least have that understanding of him, but I don't think he's going to be available. The other name that I would absolutely want to talk to if he would be interested in talking would be Ricardo Gareca at Peru, the Peruvian national team coach. But I don't think he's interested in leaving. So beyond that, I mean, I don't know if there's somebody that's a must-get right now. Jorge Almiron was one that I kind of looked at as a possibility, but then he went to Spain. So, I think you got to wait it out a little bit. Burn, what's up? Once we sell Barco, he says next summer. I think it might be in the winter. We'll see. And I don't think it's going to happen this window because I think it would have already progressed to a point we would have heard more about. But you never know with the way this window is going. As dominoes start to fall, it could open up a possibility. I think it'll be in the winter, though. I do agree with Bernd in terms of most value would be next summer because I think you will hopefully have clubs back with fans in the buildings. More money will be coming in. Clubs will be a little more willing to spend. He says, once that happens, who would be the ideal DP complement to Josef and Moreno? I'd say a goal-scoring winger. Absolutely could be. I would not have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem if you used it on a 6, which would be non-traditional. You got to remember, it's not just really thinking about it as 3 anymore because of those U22 initiative spots where we've seen Atlanta sign guys that would have qualified for that, and they've played a lot of minutes in the past here. So you could go get the goal-scoring winger as a 20-year-old, which there'd be more questions about, are they going to produce at the same level? We've seen it with Matias Pellegrini. It hasn't happened yet for him in Miami. But you could go that direction. You could go with a 6 that's younger, too. You're going to have more spots that are off the cap to work with. So it might change your strategy a little bit. Goal-scoring winger with Josef, with Moreno, I do like that idea. I'm also not discounting the idea that Moreno might not be a designated player even next year. I don't think he'll be a designated player during his whole time here in Atlanta because I think those numbers are going to go up on the DP threshold. The amount that he's being signed for, at least in terms of the transfer fee, over 5+ years is manageable to try to finesse him down to a non-designated player spot. So keep that in mind as well. Let's see. Burned with a good point when we're talking about guys who could move. Heineman's contract, and that's why I didn't say him. It's a tougher move in MLS. It would have to be a European club that would come in. I think Heineman's been good. I don't know if he's the right fit with the players around him. Now, again, just like Moreno could help Barco, Moreno could help Heineman because it would free up space for him. And we've seen Heineman can play well going into that final third. So if there's more space for him to work with because Moreno's drawing people, because Barco's drawing people, maybe we see a different Emerson Heineman. Then what with Rossetto? Can he play as a 6? I don't think so. Could Heineman play as a 6? He played in a deeper lying role during his time in Scotland, but he hasn't played it very much. Both of them I'd worry about defensively a little bit. But if you're going to be a dominant possession team, could you make it work? It's a question worth asking, and I don't have the answers to it yet. It would be something for the offseason as you're building out that depth chart. Katie says, who will win the first center back to score sweepstakes, and could it be tomorrow? Meza, Robinson, and Walks. I got Robinson in that because I think he gets on the end of a set piece. I'll always have Robinson out of those 3 in scoring because of that. I think he'll get on the end of a set piece. I don't know if it's tomorrow. I think Miami's pretty decent in the air, pretty decent defending set pieces. I don't know if it happens against them. Might happen against Dallas, though. Burned on Gallardo. He can go to a big club in Europe. I'd say do well in England. I don't know if they rate him like that in England, to be honest. I think he can. I think he's shown at River that he's got the steel to do it. My guess is he gets an opportunity in a Spain or in a France or a Portugal with a mid-tier. I think that's who takes the chance on him right now. I worry that clubs are going to get very safe with these next hires or hire from within because they don't have the money. That's the elements that could maybe open up the door for Gallardo to come to Atlanta because Atlanta would spend. He knows he'd have resources. You never know, but I think he would go to Europe. I think he'll have good options there. Okay, couple more before we wrap up. Usually this is an hour-long show, but you guys are firing off the questions, and this is good stuff. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Gustavo, likes defining Moreno as sort of a flying eight. Moreno-Barco's a better pairing than Pitti and Barco, and I'd agree with that. I think it gets the best out of Barco, and Moreno can be and it's not a negative, a complementary player. He can make others around him better. And Pitti, you're trying to make him better because he's the guy you want on the ball at the end. With Barco and Moreno, you don't know who's going to have the ball at the end, and I like that idea. I don't know if Barco felt like he was left aside, but he was definitely the third man in the group because he'd always been that here, right? He came in 2018, and it was Miggy and Joseph's team. It was becoming Joseph's team. Everything was about Miguel. Then Pitti comes in, and it's about Pitti and Joseph, and Barco's the third option. This way, right now, Joseph is always going to be Joseph when he's on the field. But in that build-up, in that playmaking area, without a Pitti there, Barco becomes that. And Moreno's not that. Moreno's not going to be the guy demanding the ball and on the ball at all times. He can complement Barco and help get the best out of him. Now, I don't think they play together for a real long time, but yeah, I think he'll help Barco a lot. I really think he'll be a good complement. Shiva, what about the manager for the Colombian national team? Who are you thinking? You thinking Quiroz? Is that who you were trying to? You said Carlos who? I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. Burns says, I think there'll be problems in Europe with fans in the building due to the arrived COVID numbers. I agree. I don't know. The winter window, I don't know. It feels like right now for deals to get done, teams have to sell to be able to buy. So that's why I still don't rule out something crazy happening right now. If somebody sells, maybe they've got some extra money and they decide that Barco would be a fit. If Sevilla or Fiorentina does it, then maybe they'll be interested. I think the winter will probably be about the same. Ideally, you'd want to wait till next year. The question and the unknown part is, does Barco want to wait till next year? Because if an offer comes and it's satisfactory, I don't know where he is right now. I don't know if he wants to go now, no questions asked. Or if it's just going to depend on the offer. Because if he wants to go and the offer is good enough, I think you do it because you owe it to him. Because that's what the club's been built on. If the offer's not good enough, you don't do it. If it's not something he wants, you don't do it. But if it meets the minimums, you might go ahead and do it in one of these next few windows. I think you'll make more money if you can wait till next summer. We'll see if that happens. I'd love for it to, because I think the first half of next year with Joseph healthy, with Moreno, assuming that deal gets done, and Barco pairing up could be really, really good. Really, really good. Byrne is going Gallardo to Chelsea or Man U. Wow. I just don't think they would hire him. I don't think they rate him like they should. I'm not saying that I don't think he could do the job. I'm saying I don't think they would hire him. Chelsea's going to ride or die with Lampard for a while. And I think Ole has earned a full season. I'm still not convinced of their transfer policy at Manchester United, but I think Ole's earned the time. So I don't think it happens for either one of them to go this year. I don't think Lampard goes at the end of this year unless they completely blow up. And I don't think they'll happen. They have too much talent. Turner, there will be problems, but a lot of these teams can't afford to shut their doors to fans much longer. The same thing is going to come to the leagues here. TV deals can only get you so far. It's accurate, and there's an increased push around the world to get fans into at least manageable numbers, and that's going to be something to watch in sports over the next few months. It is a huge issue on both sides because there's obvious safety issues with it. There's just no way around it. The rapid test and the affordable rapid testing would be the game changer for me. And I just don't know where we are in terms of that becoming available and becoming an option. You take the 15-minute test, and if you pass, you can come into the game. And if you don't, then you can't. Maybe that's something that you can get to. I just don't know if it's feasible, and I don't know when it will be feasible. I think that is going to do it. You guys have broken into some conversations, which are great. And here's the thing, and keep this in mind from time to time. Like, when I got to go or when the show ends, you guys can still use the chat room. And if you continue on the conversation, that's completely cool. There just won't be me looking in and peeking in and saying, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, no, I disagree with that. Go for it. I want to do some more watch-alongs and things. Once we get the schedule for the rest of the year, I think I'll have a better sense of where they can fit in. The watch-alongs with MLS are fun. The watch-alongs with, whether it's Libertadores or when the Argentine League gets going again, stuff that's a little different. Those are a lot of fun. So we'll definitely be doing more of those as well that are a little more just like this, interactive, fun, goofy, back and forth, all kinds of stuff. Final one as a little bit of back and forth that is going on in the chat room from Gustavo and Burned. I want to share this and we'll end on this. So Burned to Gustavo talking about the signings, and they're in alignment here. The hashtag Nagbe replacement. I hate the hashtag replacement stuff, but that position, let's talk about. True world market price for that kind of position and that kind of impact that you got out of Darlington Nagbe, more than $1.5 million a year. I say that MLS will never pay that salary for a deep lying playmaker. I also say I'd have no problem with it. And where I think that could change, because they haven't paid that, really, I'm trying to think of anybody. Pirlo, I guess, would have been that. You did it. It depends on how you want to position and rate, Lampard and Gerrard. Lampard less so. Gerrard, I think when he came to the Galaxy, kind of. But you weren't signing those guys about what they did on the field. You were signing those guys about selling jerseys. Let's be real. I'd have no problem spending that. And with what you could have for next season, I'd have no problem if they decide to try to fill that role with that much of an expenditure. What could change it is the fact that you're going to have that U22 initiative, where instead of 3 designated players and then everything else is TAM or less, we don't know the rules yet on the U22 stuff, but it's been described as essentially a young designated player with more restrictions. The idea was that you could spend whatever you wanted on the transfer. The salary would have to be within certain parameters. It wouldn't be able to just be completely nuts. But it's not going to be completely nuts for a kid who's 17 to 21. The salary is not going to be insane. So you can go, and the types of deals that we see some clubs around the world, go and sign a top player out of Argentina or Ecuador or Uruguay or Colombia and drop $10 million on them because they think they're going to turn into something special. And their salary is manageable. Their salary might be $250,000, but they might spend $10 million because they think they can turn into a $20 million player. That's going to open up some possibilities. Where is it easier to play a young player? I think in an attacking role. I think you're going to look at some of those as attacking players. So let's say you want to go get a goal-scoring left winger and you want to get a number 6 who can play but be that elite 6, or deep-lying playmaker if you want to look at it that way. Either way, you could, and if you want to split them up, whatever. Say you're looking for central and you're looking for the goal-scoring left winger, and you get the U22 initiative next year. I could easily see a scenario that you go get a 19 to 20-year-old left winger who is scoring goals at the first division level in South America, spend what you got to spend, put them on a salary that fits, you bring them in, and you use a designated player spot when Barco goes on that central midfielder because the paradigm's going to shift. When you've got more spots to work with, it changes your strategy. And I think that could happen here. So I know I've said that before, Burned, and I hope that makes sense. And I'm not trying to contradict myself here. I think that U22 initiative could change the strategic approach to building rosters. Those spots would not surprise me if they go more attacking because you'll get more impact. And that could open up a designated player spot for a less attacking player because now you've got more to work with. We'll see. It's going to be fascinating. I think Atlanta's a team that can absolutely take advantage of it. There are promising young players playing all over South America that you can go in and get for reasonable prices, get them to a point that you can sell them to Europe for good money and start to repeat the cycle. And you'll always get some that don't work out. You'll always get some that stick and stay. And that's fine too. But I think that U22 initiative could open up more spending in the area than the part of the field that you're talking about. I really think it could. It could change the strategy a lot. Maybe even more defensive designated players, which we rarely see. Maybe that could happen. Atlanta's a team who's shown that they're not just relying on the designated player spots just to sell jerseys or to sell tickets. They don't have to worry about that. Other teams do. But Atlanta would have that luxury to go get a 6 or an 8, a true 8, not a flying 8, that would sit deeper and give you that with that kind of money. Be interesting. Be very, very interesting. Dome Tarrant, and this is the last one from Burned. Dome would understand that logic. He's seen it with Pep, how important these midfielders are. You can always buy a cheaper, young, fast winger in the Sané Sterling mode, absolutely, and teach them how to play. And let them be free while they're kind of doing it, while they're learning it. Let them play to their strengths. You know, it's the idea of, you know, go play, go do what you do. We're going to give you the opportunities to go 1v1. We're going to give you the opportunities to get in behind. You do what you do. We'll work with you to get better. But you do what you do right now. Where you can go and spend the money on a 25, 26, 27-year-old stud central midfielder. It's going to be fascinating to see how all this goes. I think roster construction will dramatically change, and the teams that adjust the quickest are the teams that will be in contention next year with that U22 initiative when it comes in. I hope we learn more about it soon so we can start to strategize on it ourselves. Thanks, you guys, for hanging out. Thanks for all the questions. I was hoping this would turn into just a conversation for an hour plus, and it absolutely did. All of y'all, thank you so much. Thanks for spending your time with us on a Friday night. Tomorrow, we'll have the Power Hour in the morning at 10 o'clock. There'll be games going on all over the planet. We'll talk about those. We'll get you caught up on any news. We'll talk a little bit more about this one coming up tomorrow night. Our coverage on radio starts at 6 o'clock on 92.9 The Game on the radio.com app. Our true pregame will start at 6:30. We'll be on Sirius XM FC as well. Kickoff will be just after 7 o'clock. It's a local broadcast, so it won't be a weird time. It'll be 7:06 or 7:07. We'll have the full-time report for an hour afterwards in all the same places except for Sirius XM FC. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the questions. If I missed anything or you want to continue the conversation or anything like that, always you can tweet at me at Longshoe. You guys know that. We'll be back in the morning. Mucha plata, y'all.